Hey guys, hey, this is Anne-Marie at the AntiHR, and welcome to a quick Makeup Chronicle, because I'm getting ready to go list some live music. It's Saturday, and so I wanted to do a quick video. My eyes are a little red because I just got out of the shower. But I want to talk real quick about references, because I've had several people come into my comments and ask me about references and how to deal with references, especially when you are not leaving your job on the best of terms. And so I have some advice about references, okay? And if I've ever gotten a bad reference, I sure don't know about it. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why. Is because I have always provided my own references, professional references and personal references. And when you are looking for a job, especially in the corporate environment, people will ask you for your references. Some jobs will say, ask you if they can contact your last supervisor, and if no, why. But most don't do that when you are in corporate environments, but they do ask for references, and they may ask for references from the last place you worked. So what is important when you're working anywhere is to cultivate references, right? Every person you interact with at your job is a potential professional reference, okay? And so if you don't have a good relationship with your boss, then maybe you have a coworker or the person above your boss or the person above your boss's boss who thinks highly of your work. Always ask people if they can be a professional reference for you. If you're thinking about leaving or you're planning to leave, always have someone you can ask. And it doesn't necessarily have to be someone at your current job. It could be someone at your last job. But you should always be cultivating references everywhere you work, so that when and if you need one, you're not scrambling. So I always had a list of people from several places I had worked. Some were former supervisors, some were former coworkers. It was a good mix of both. And I always had them written down, their contact information. If they had left before I did, I would ask people if they were leaving, can I use you as a reference? What information should I have for you for that? Get their phone number, their email, and you put them down on your professional reference list. Write down your relationship to them, when you worked with them, and you're doing that for your memory so that you remember. I would say don't use references that are more than 5 to 8 years old. Even though I have a person that I kept on my reference who was over 20 years old, because he had worked with me the longest. And you don't have to put the year you worked with them. You can just say that if they're a former colleague at a place that is on your resume, preferably, and what capacity you worked with them. And you can put that on a professional reference list, and you put the little caption under each thing. And so you can even send this to recruiters unsolicited, so that they're not asking you. You say, after they call you, here's a list of my professional references. I'm happy to send them to you. Here's the thing to keep in mind. Recruiters are lazy. As much work as you can do for them, they are going to appreciate it. So if you present them with a list of professional references without them even asking, more likely than not, that's who they're going to contact. Same with personal. That could be a former teacher, your pastor, former school principal, people if you volunteered anywhere, you could put those people down as personal references, right? So as in all things, my motto, is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So you don't wait for people to ask you for reference for you to be thinking about who your reference is going to be. You should have cultivated a list of people so that in the event that you work somewhere and you don't leave on the best terms with your manager, for example, but there might be another person in the department who's the same level as your manager, who you do have a good relationship with. Use that person as your professional reference, right? And always in interviews, you don't volunteer information that's not helpful to you. So if you didn't get along with your last manager, you don't tell them that. You just don't provide them as a reference, right? And if they ask why, you could even lie and say your job doesn't allow individuals to give professional references while they still work there. Because a lot of companies have that policy now because they're worried about being sued for defamation or slander. So usually you have to send a request for references a lot of times to HR, and all they will give is a confirmation of employment that you worked there, right? So you can say, I can't provide my most immediate supervisor because my employer has this policy. It's not unusual. In other words, lie if it doesn't serve you, right? But that means you want to have another list of stellar references. So you can say, however, I do have a list of professional references and I'm happy to provide that to you. And you send them the people you know are going to say nice things about you. I'm going to say good things about you. If you don't have anybody to use for that, then the problem might be you. Because every person should have someone, at least 3 people, if not more. I would say 3 to 5, that they can put down on a list as professional references. Same for personal. So if you have not started such a list, I recommend that you start that now, right? Not when you need it, now, right? So if you have people that you worked with and you're on good standing with them, ask them, can I use you as a reference? And you don't even have to say, I'm looking for a job or anything. If I ever decide to look for an opportunity in the department, can I use you as a reference? In another department, can I use you as a reference? If they leave and you like them, can I use you as a reference? Can I keep in touch with you so I can use you as a reference? These are the things that you have to do. With all things, you have to be a proactive thinker. You can't wait till something happens to do it. Now, if you are in a situation, and this does come up from time to time, where you have a situation where you left a job, for example, and there were some issues with the job, and you're worried about what they're going to say about you, right? Then you want to be very proactive about providing your own reference or having your own narrative. But one of the things that often happens when, some people, I have a lot of people who negotiate an exit within a bad, especially, discrimination, that kind of situation. It's very important to make sure during your negotiations of a separation agreement that you negotiate around what your employer is allowed to say about you and what they are not. And a lot of people overlook this. They thinking about money, they thinking about vacation time, they thinking about benefits. They're not thinking about what can these people say about me. So that's a thing that I often help my clients make sure that they put language when they're negotiating to protect their professional reputations after they leave. So this is something for you to think about. If your employer ever puts a separation agreement in front of you, that is a thing for you to think about. And if that comes up and you don't know what to do, you can book a discovery call. We can talk. I also engage with people. I help people develop narratives that allow them to ask for exit with a check. And I also help people who already have been provided separation agreements to negotiate. Because anytime you get a separation agreement in front of you, you should negotiate. Never agree to the first offer. That's some free game for you, right? And people are always like, well, what if they say no? They say no, you're in the same position you were in when they initially handed you the agreement. You haven't lost anything. But if you never ask, the answer will always be no. So you should always negotiate. But that's another thing to keep in mind in terms of if you're concerned about what is going to be said about you when you are leaving under a situation that involves a separation agreement. Make sure that you also negotiate around what they're allowed to say about you after you don't work there no more. But if you're just thinking about leaving a job and one of the things that you're worried about is what people are going to say about you, that's not something you should be worrying about if you have taken time to develop and cultivate people to use as professional references. So if you haven't done that yet, I recommend that you get about the business of doing it, right? So if you have people that you have worked with as colleagues, as supervisors, as people not necessarily your supervisor, but works with your supervisor and is like, you did a good job on this, or I like how you did that, or blah, blah, blah. You can ask them to be a reference. You can even tell them what you want them to say. And a lot of times people will ask you to tell them what you want them to say so that they don't even have to think about it. And if they do that, you should give them a little blurb about what you want them to say. These are all things that people do, believe it or not. I have never had somebody give me a reference and not know exactly what they were going to say about me. I don't recommend you leave that kind of thing to chance. So if you are a person right now who doesn't have a list of professional references and personal references, I suggest that you get about creating that list, right? And start with people that every person that you ever worked with, that you enjoyed working with, or said that they enjoyed working with you, even if you didn't necessarily enjoy working with them, write their names down. Where did you work with them? And then reach out to those people and find out if you can use them as a professional reference. And you can even tell them what you want them to talk about, whether you want them to, if it was a project you worked on, like it was a contract you worked on, like whatever you worked on. And if that's the thing you want them to toot your horn about for you, you tell them exactly what you want them to talk about. You put them down as a professional reference. So it's not really complicated, but it is something that you need to give some thought. I hope that this video has given you some tips that you can use to develop a list of professional references if you don't have one, and how to even go back and look at your professional references if you do have them. Every job you work at, you should be cultivating people that you can use as professional references later. Every job. You have to be forward-thinking, intentional, strategic about how you approach your job and your work. So every person in your job that you have a good working relationship with is a potential professional reference. Think of them that way and treat them that way. I hope this video was helpful. This is Anne Marie. It's the AntiHR channel, where we talk about employment issues and help employees get out of discriminatory hostile work environments, preferably with some cash in their pocket. If this was helpful to you, please hit the like button, subscribe button, comment, share this video with a friend. And remember, HR is not your enemy, but they're definitely not your friend. But I am. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.